afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back here at the group exhibit Hydrogen Fuel Cells and Batteries. I welcome you to have a seat and enjoy the public forums. We'll have many more interviews here, so you can come around. Yes, you can have a seat. There's complimentary coffee, tea, and other drinks on the house. Two lovely ladies serving you. And then we can get started. We will have the representative Andrés Fernández Durán. He's manager for fuel cell products at Dana. We'll talk about the industrialization efforts that Dana has made, enabling cost reduction and commercialization of fuel cell and also battery components. So for that, please welcome with me on stage, Mr. Fernández Durán. Hola, welcome. By the way, we are online. We're live streaming. We have an online live stream. So, hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, annyeonghaseyo, salve to all our online guests. Yes, we are very modern, digitalized fair. I would like to know who Dana is. Well, I know, and some of the fair guests also know who Dana is. Yeah. But for those here who don't know, who's Dana and what does Dana do?
Okay, Dana is a tier 1 supplier based out of the US, definitely present all over the world, but the headquarters is in the US. We have a turnover around about 7 billion euros in all over the business units, and we are divided in two main areas. Actually, you can separate into the driveline area, where we do mostly access, transmissions, and things like this. This brings 75% of our turnover, and then we have a different area, which is what we call power technologies, and this reflects on all components that are attached to the motors, so really the propulsion system, and this brings around about 1 of the 7 billion euros turnover in a company.
So how is Dana involved with the fuel cell technology?
Yes, so in the power technologies group, what we call, so we are of course making a lot of components for traditional engines, cylinder head gaskets, sealings, isolation systems, and on this area we have synergies with novel technologies, like for example battery cooling. These are cold plates, for example, or a heat exchanger for battery systems or for fuel cells. And in the fuel cell area, we are focused on the bipolar plate development. That's our core technology in this area. We are doing also other things, but mostly bipolar plates, composite, traditionally since many years, and also metallic bipolar plates. So we have both technologies in-house.
So what kind of bipolar plates do you produce?
So we produce actually right now both under almost serial production conditions. We have made composite bipolar plates for many years already. We, for example, provided bipolar plates, the composite basis for the Equinox, for the GM Equinox in 2008 already. So this was a small series of vehicles, 110 vehicles at that time. We continue developing these components, and we deliver them in quite high numbers, in 10,000s today. And on the German side, we are focused on the metallic bipolar plates, mostly because we see a cost advantage over the long term. So we think performance probably could be reached on both sides, but size, weight, and cost, we see a slight advantage on metallic over the long term for the high volume. That's why.
So the bipolar plate is a very important component of the fuel cell. But the bipolar plate just doesn't go as a plate inside the fuel cell. It needs to have coating and also needs to be stemmed. Yes. We need some welding. Who does that?
So we have the advantage that Dana has all these capabilities in-house, so we don't need to share this work with external companies. So we can do precise stamping. We're specialized actually in welding, one of our core technologies. And we apply conductive coating ourselves, also our technology, our recipe for the coating, if you want, carbon-based. And last but not least, a really important topic, we apply also the sealing in our house. We have a proprietary sealing also called the metal bit seal. So it's a combined metal sealing with a rubber seal. And this is unique, actually, and a patented technology from Dana, which is being taken in the market quite as almost a standard, if you want.
This is quite interesting. We have short time, but Mr. Andrés Fernández Durán will also have time at the booth to explain more about the detail on the bipolar technology that you are using. What I like to know is that Dana has been in the business for several years now, and also observing the OEM strategies. What is the general market situation from Dana's point of view?
Well, we are seeing, as we all know, a lot of momentum on electrification generally because of the environmental factors that we see worldwide, and also the legislation that you see in Europe, in China. And so we are seeing a lot of momentum that we haven't seen in the past. Definitely, I've been for a long time in this area, and our company too, almost 2 decades. And the momentum we are seeing today is unique. Mostly, we have to acknowledge, certainly driven by China. This is really creating a lot of push also, and perhaps the needed push to pull the rest of the industry a bit forward. So on the Europe side and the US side, we think this is a benefit for all of us.
We just talked about momentum, and I want to have a question. So you chose the title, Dana's Industrialization Efforts Enabling Cost Reduction and Commercialization. What exactly do you mean by the industrialization efforts? What is Dana really doing?
Okay, so definitely we are producing components on the power technologies group. For example, cylinder head gaskets, tens of millions per year. Okay, so we have technologies in house to produce this type of components in this type of volumes. So what we want to do is we are intending to do and planning to do right now is apply this type of processes that we already have, that we know, stamping processes, as I said before, welding, screen printing for applying the seal into these novel technologies. So we have all this know-how in-house. What we want to do is leverage this know-how into the novel components and use this know-how to lower the cost.
How do you lower the costs?
Very good point. So for that, we definitely need volumes. We know that. And we need designs that are able to be produced at low cost. So what we have done in the past, and probably some of you know, we have been involved into the AutoStack Core project.
What is the AutoStack Core project?
This was a project funded by the European Union, by the joint undertaking, to develop what was called a European stack. This was supported by suppliers, OEMs too, in order to develop a kind of a common stack or a design that is able to achieve the performance targets that we had. So we did that, quite successful, we think. Not only we, but the consortium and the EU. We have the results at our booth. And we have 2 generations of those stacks, which achieve a very high power density for around 4 kilowatts per liter, which is a very good number in the industry. So we developed the technology first. This technology does a very nice effect. Is being marketed today. So we are bringing the result of the Evolution 2, which is one stack that we have display into the market in several 10,000s from this year. And you have heard certainly from Nikola Motors, sorry. So which is
for those in the audience who don't know, can you briefly explain who is Nikola?
Yeah. So Nikola Motors is a U.S. company, it's a startup company that is gonna do heavy duty fuel cell trucks. You can follow this in the internet. Very aggressive plans that they have, and it has been communicated a couple of months ago that Nikola Motors has joined forces with Bosch and with PowerCell. We are delivering the bipolar plates for PowerCell, and we are going to deliver for Nikola Motors the stacks together with PowerCell. So this is a very nice effect.
So your customers are more ordering large scales?
Well, today it depends. So we are actually involved in several areas, from the heavy duty or commercial vehicle area, buses and trucks, and on the OEM side. On the OEM, we know where we are with the volumes, so it could be definitely better. But we're working with them for the next generations, which will take up a lot on volumes. We see more development short term due to the developments in China, definitely on the commercial vehicle, and there is where volumes are really taken. And perhaps to close the loop on successful stories, on previous developments, we are going to deliver for one of our customers. We have signed a contract for several 100,000 production. So this is already what we call already a serial production also for us. And this is a very nice development that we are seeing thanks to the developments in other countries like China, definitely.
So who's putting the pressure on Dana? Is it the German OEMs, or is it actually the demand from the Chinese market, or is it the competitors with the lower costs?
The pressure actually we are putting ourselves. We think electrification is a must for the future. I think we all agree on that for zero emissions, for achieving zero emissions mobility. And Dana is of the opinion that with the cost that we have today, the technology that we use today, we will not meet these targets. So we will not be able to produce a large volume. The costs are today too large. That's why we are involved in projects like, for example, AutoStack Core at a public domain to develop the technology further. And we are involved also in the successor program we didn't mention before, which is called AutoStack Industry. In this case, a German-funded program, quite large actually. And so we are putting pressure on ourselves from the company perspective to bring the cost down to enable commercialization of this technology, which today is definitely tricky due to the cost mostly, as we all know.
So you just bringing down the cost of the bipolar plates?
Yes.
That is Dana's part.
That's Dana's part. And so the target for the AutoStack Industry project is to together with the OEMs. So we have all German OEMs involved in this project.
So all of them?
So BMW, Daimler, Volkswagen is involved, and Ford are part of this project funded by the NOW and from the NIP program, so Transportation Ministry. And they are all supporting us on putting the specification on the requirements together for development the right bipolar plate that can then be produced at large volume but low cost.
So, from what I understand, is that most of the German OEMs are involved, but then Dana is involved to produce the bipolar plates. So all of the German OEMs together using the same hydrogen fuel cell technology. So basically, all the hydrogen cars that we're going to have will have the same using the same technology.
Well, that doesn't be the case. Certainly, all OEMs want a differentiation. We know that, but we need to put the first stone, right? So, and what we are trying to do with this project is to put the basis. So perhaps develop together the first release of a design that is able to be produced at large volume, low cost. All together, definitely on the second step, we will be seeing differences, and every OEM will want to go their way. That's we know, but at least we will have a basis for development then further, which is not standardized, but the processes to develop or to produce displays would be certainly close to standardized, so that we can then broaden our offer for all potential customers at the lower cost.
So we just talked about that Dana is already trying to reduce the cost for the bipolar plates that go into the fuel cells. Now, a fuel cell car is not only consisting of a fuel cell itself, but also a tank, a cooling system. So where do you think are other key screws that need to be turned so that the cost of hydrogen-powered cars is competitive with the cost of your regular car?
Well, mainly the main screw, actually there are two in a fuel cell car, and actually the one is the stack. In the stack there are two cost drivers. This one is the bipolar plate, we know, and the other one is the membrane. So we are doing our part. The bipolar plate has quite a strong effect on the stack, so that's why we need to kind of harmonize and go to larger volumes with more simpler designs. And certainly the other part, which is less Dana's core business, is the hydrogen storage. Mm-hmm. One very key item, actually, I have to say.
By the way, you can also ask questions. Mr. Fernández Durán will be happy to answer all your questions. If you have a question, you can just easily raise your hand. Okay. I think I have a question regarding another technology that is also very popular right now, especially in the German market. We are not only talking about fuel cell powered cars, but also about batteries.
Yes.
Is Dana completely ignoring the battery powered cars?
No, absolutely not. So we are very involved in the battery technology. So we are not doing batteries ourselves, but again, attached to our core business, we are, for example, developing cooling system for batteries from heat exchangers from our thermal unit. But one of the main topics is cold plates to cool the single cells of the battery. This is something we have done already for a long time. And we have delivered also the cold plates for the GM Volt. The first Volt, the Opel Ampera was called in Europe. So we developed the plates. We have them out at our booth. And also for the Ford Focus too. So we are very engaged on the battery technology development for sure. And actually we are, even if I might say, even one step ahead on that, because batteries are taking up strongly today, are already quite large volumes. So we are already at that second step. So we are industrializing already these components. And we are working with several OEMs already in the US, but also in Europe for future projects on battery vehicles. Yes.
So Dana has been a frequent visitor to this fair. How did the first 3 days go for you?
Actually, very good. So we are happy to have progress on contracts with customers for large volumes, as I mentioned before. So
can you once again say how large the volume is for?
We are talking about hundreds of thousands. So which is already a very fair volume we consider, and this is a very big step.
So this is an order 100,000 for the bipolar plates going into a fuel cell, and this fuel cell will go to will be manufactured in a car or
in a commercial vehicle.
Okay.
Yeah, for a commercial vehicle, yes.
Okay. So that is quite good for you. What are you hoping for? Who do you think you could work with at this fair?
Well, we are open certainly to any customer that is interested to have a mass production part. That's certainly our core business. We understand that short term some customers require lower volumes to test the technology. We do that as well. But mainly we are focused on the long-term perspective. So we are looking for customers that are really committed to these technologies, both battery and fuel cell technology, and we were to put together work together to work towards long-term agreements and develop the technology forward. Yeah.
Dana has succeeded bringing down costs in the bipolar plate production. Is it possible to reduce costs without investment?
No, definitely not. So we think that's not possible. That's for sure. You need investment. You need development to bring the technology a bit forward. That we are not today there yet. But what we certainly do is also the development upfront. As I mentioned before, in the auto stack industry project, we will develop a plate that is not looking like today's plate. Yeah. It will be a much simpler, but with a higher efficiency, so a higher power density, so that we can manufacture this simpler plate, if you want, into a more stable industrial production process. So we are moving, if you want to call it, from what we call a pre-A sample to a B sample in the auto namings, if you want.
What can other exhibitors learn from Dana in terms of commercialization?
Well, you can learn what we have done already in the mainstream business. As I said, we are producing today tens of millions of parts every year on sealing components, also on heat exchangers. So we have, I think, or we think we have what is needed to bring this technology to market and to lower the cost and be able to be there where we need it to enable commercialization. So that's what you can learn from us, I think.
Thank you very much. Is there any question from the audience? That is not the case. I would have had time for only just a tiny question because the time is already up, unfortunately.
Okay.
But Mr. Fernández Durán is very passionate about the technology. You can visit him at the Dana booth, which is right across here. The booth number is B69.
Exactly.
And he will be there to answer all your questions or just have a little chat on the technology, and maybe give you an advice how to bring the cost down. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Please stay seated for our upcoming talk that will start just in 1 minute time. We'll talk about the innovation cluster H2, green mobility solutions made in Saxony in the east of Germany. Mr. Lukas Rohleder from Energy Saxony will be speaking here at stage. Thank you very much. I invite you to have another coffee and relax.